Hello world, welcome to Java training, and in today's video I'm going to explain you about type conversion. Type conversion is a very important concept in Java and people are often confused in this particular topic. So let me try to explain type conversion as simple as I can. So the topics are: what is type conversion, types of type conversion, and different possibilities in type conversion. So in this particular video I'll be covering on what is type conversion and different types of type conversion. Type conversion is basically process that converts one data type into another data type either manually or automatically. And type conversion happens only when data types are compatible. If they are not compatible, then it will not happen. There are two types of type conversion. First one is implicit type conversion, which is also known as widening. This implicit type conversion is done by Java compiler and it is done implicitly, hence the name implicit. Second type of type conversion is explicit type conversion, which is known as narrowing, or it is also known as typecasting. So assigning the value of a larger data type into a smaller data type is known as explicit type conversion. As we have to do this explicitly, hence the name explicit. Typecasting is done explicitly using casting operator. So as you know, I have explained you about the data types. So data types are byte, short, int, long, float, double. So this is the particular order where we are considering byte is shorter data type compared to short, short is shorter data type compared to int, and then int is shorter data type compared to long, then float, and then double. So shorter and larger data type is not related to the default size. So as you can see, int is also 4 bytes and float is also 4 bytes. But when we are considering type conversion, we are considering int as a shorter or a smaller data type compared to float with respect to type conversion. Now let me explain you these implicit and explicit type conversion one by one. Let's consider data types as the container. Let me consider int and float. Okay, so int is a smaller data type compared to float in terms of type conversion. Although the default size of int and float is 4 bytes, but with respect to type conversion, int is considered as a smaller data type compared to float. Let's say smaller data type is represented by a smaller glass or a vessel, and larger data type is basically denoted by a larger container or a larger glass. And let's say glass is filled with water. Okay, so this basically represents the data that particular data type is storing. For example, I have float a equal to 8.5f and I have int b. Okay, let's consider this as A and this is B. So when I do B equal to A, okay, so the water inside A is representing the data, which is 8.5f. So if I want to transfer this data or water from A to B, will I be able to completely transfer it? No, right? Because B has smaller capacity than A, so there will be spillover or loss of precision. So in that particular situation, compiler will ask me explicitly to accept this risk and do the data transfer. So in that case, I will explicitly typecast A into B. So just consider that I am shortening the capacity of A explicitly. So here I have to do explicit type conversion. So this is known as explicit type conversion. This is known as type operator. So my size of vessel A, I am shortening it or narrowing it. So it is known as narrowing. Also, it is known as explicit type conversion. We also call it as typecasting. Why it is known as explicit? Because Java compiler want us to explicitly accept this risk that while doing this type of conversion, there will be loss of precision, as I have explained you in this example, right? Now consider different situation. Let's say I have bigger vessel here and shorter vessel here, and it is filled with water. So this is the situation. Let's say if I'm giving int a equal to 2 and float b. So this is represented by a equal to 2 and this is b. So when I'll do b equal to a, what does it mean? So it means I am transferring the data of a, which is of int type, into b. So in this case, as the volume or the size of the vessel A is less, while doing this transfer, will there be any loss of precision or data? No, because B is considered as larger. So in this case, I'll be able to successfully do. So in this case, this conversion, when I'll do B equal to A, it does not require any explicit type conversion. It is done implicitly by Java compiler. Hence, it is known as implicit type conversion. And while making this transfer, you can see data is widening, right? Hence it is also known as widening conversion. So if you want to correlate the type conversion, just think of this vessel or glass analogy, where you'll consider the larger data type with the larger glass and the smaller data type with the smaller glass. This is the particular consideration which we do with respect to size. Now let me show you type conversion quickly into the editor also. So let's say I have defined int a equal to 2 and float b. Now I am doing b equal to a. So I am trying to transfer the water from smaller data type into bigger data type, right? So a is smaller with respect to b. So this will happen implicitly, hence it is known as implicit type conversion. And one more point I want to bring up here is that for implicit type conversion, we can also do it explicitly also. That means if I want to do explicit also, I can use it like this without any problem, but it is not required actually. You can do it like this also, which is not required because Java compiler do it implicitly. Now second case, let's take second case. Let's say we have int a, we have float b equal to 8.3f. By the way, when you are denoting float number, you have to use the f keyword. If you don't use the f keyword and if you'll just give it like this, it is a double number. But if you are defining any float number, you have to use the character f. Now in this case, when I am doing a equal to b, that means I am trying to transfer the water of larger vessel or larger glass into the smaller glass. So this is the case of explicit type conversion. See, it is asking to add cast to int. So I have to explicitly do it. And these are the type operators, these brackets. This is also known as narrowing or typecasting. So this is the basic of type conversion. I hope now you are able to make out what is type conversion, what is the difference between type conversion, typecasting, what is narrowing type conversion, what is widening type conversion, and why these terms are basically defined in this way. So in my next video, I will be covering on different type of type conversion that can happen.